We have a full 7-rounder mock draft
from old Matt Miller over at ESPN, and I don't know how to feel about some of this. So we'll talk about what leads up to the Cowboys here. This is Matt Miller over at ESPN with his first 7-round mock draft of the year. Cam Ward, number 1 to the Tennessee Titans. Abdul Carter, 2nd to the Cleveland Browns. By the way, did you see Abdul Carter yesterday? Says he's also not going to work out now. This is like a record number, I feel like, of players who say they're not working out for teams ahead of the draft. You're going to see more and more guys just saying they're not going to do this. Carter's one, too, who, like we've talked about a little bit, he's already considered kind of a pain in the neck for some people. I don't know that this helps him, especially if he's so insistent that I'm the number 1 pick. I'll be the number 1 pick.
This is the new way, and it's going to continue. And it's their right to do it. Now, look, if the teams, the teams can put a stop to this by just saying, all right, fine, we're just not going to draft any of you in the first round. And, they would have to all collude together, which that would be a big problem on its own.
But if you start seeing guys slide just naturally, that might start encouraging, like, all right, well, I'm missing out on a few million. I maybe should work out a little bit.
Yeah.
Number 3, Shedeur Sanders to the Giants. Travis Hunter to the Patriots from Colorado. Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tetaroa McMillan, wide receiver, Arizona, goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. This has been a popular Ashton Jeanty spot.
Yes, it has.
Armand Membu, the tackle from Missouri, considered a little bit shorter tackle, goes to the Jets at 7. Jalen Walker, the linebacker, edge rusher, depending on how you see him, Georgia player, goes to the Panthers. Jahdae Barron, the cornerback from Texas, goes 9 to the Saints. 10, the Chicago Bears take Ashton Jeanty, which, whoo, you get you've already got Roma Dunze, Kaleb Williams, and then Ashton Jeanty.
And a revamped O-line.
That would be
3 starters.
Would be a dangerous offense in the future.
That team, if they get Ashton, that is a juicy underdog NFC title pick.
In that division, you think Kaleb Williams is going to go from what he did last year to leading his team to the promised land or anywhere close?
I mean, Detroit's got 1 year left of their run.
I think we're more likely to see Kaleb Williams at Soldier Field crying into his mother's bosom the same way he did at USC than we are seeing him sniffing an NFC championship game next season.
Look, that may be true. Maybe, I'm not even going to go there. I was going to go there. I'm not going to go there.
Coward.
I'm not going to go
Coward.
there. Minnesota's due for a fall. And, Green Bay is, they're solid too. It's a tough division. There's no doubt about it. It's a brutal division. It's a gauntlet. But nobody has improved themselves in the NFC if they get Jeanty along with the 3 starters in the O-line they got.
I'm with you. I mean, when you consider
you add in the
coach, right, which we all have respect for Ben Johnson.
But I'm just saying, you could probably get them at 25 to 1 to win the NFC. I mean, that's a hell of a value bet.
It is. No,
Stay in your lane.
I'm with you. You're right. You're the gambling expert.
Number 11, the San Francisco 49ers select Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan, and Broadus breathes a huge sigh of relief there. He personally hates this individual.
Because he's from Michigan?
No, he actually doesn't hate him. He's just not a big fan of him as a player. And so everybody's been blowing up his Twitter lately, telling him you just hate him. And then the Dallas Cowboys select, man, I wouldn't love this. It's a good player. I wouldn't love this.
Right, hang on. Give me the position.
It'll give it away. It's tight end.
Oh.
Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State. He says the Cowboys need playmakers everywhere, and that should be their focus early. Warren would give them an upper-caliber starting tight end who would instantly be Dallas's number 2 receiving option behind CeeDee Lamb. Brock Bowers showed how impactful a rookie tight end could be last season, and Warren has many similar qualities, including being able to get open underneath and a knack for creating yards after the catch. I like Tyler Warren. I think Tyler Warren's a good player.
How do you compare him to Brock?
I think Brock's better, significantly.
Significantly?
Yeah, I do. But, I still think Tyler Warren's one of the better tight ends we've had recently.
Is he better coming out than Laporta?
Yes. As the evaluation. Clearly Laporta showed as a rookie how good he was. But, as the the player he looked like in college, yes, he was better.
Okay.
So
it's just a position for you?
It's mainly about tight end. Just with everything else they need, I feel like tight end is the lowest priority.
Yeah, I don't think they need tight end. This is obviously, though, one of those replacement. It's 2 things. It could be a replacement, so you don't have to pay, you don't have to pay Ferg necessarily, but also, this would fall into their best player available, would it not? This is what their philosophy is.
Potentially. Let's see who else is on the board.
Unless you manipulate your board.
Will Campbell's on the board, offensive lineman. I think some people would argue that he's there as a good prospect. Yeah, but otherwise, I mean, that's kind of the top. There, I would have a hard time saying anybody's better than Tyler Warren, other than maybe Will Campbell. And so, I mean, that's an offensive lineman. I'd rather have the offensive lineman.
Oh, I think offensive line's a bigger need, yeah, for sure. And if all things are equal, go with the need.
Yeah, and so, by the way, shout out John Ramsey. He's here too right now. Tolo John just walked through. All right, second round pick. The Cowboys address running back. They get Kaleb Johnson, running back from Iowa. Matt Miller writes that Cowboys wait to add their running back and we get a powerful runner with great outside zone ability. The 6'1", 224-pound Johnson rushed for 23 touchdowns in 2024 while adding 1,700 all-purpose yards. He is a slasher who loves to run downhill and will make defenders pay if they're in his path when he clears the line of scrimmage. This is a guy Wolchuk loves. Wolchuk really likes Kaleb Johnson.
Man, so does Broadus.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. There is zero chance if I was a scout I would be able to evaluate him. There's no way I would put any Iowa offensive player on film. That would be the most miserable existence, the most miserable hour of your life.
That's that'd be pretty high up there. Number 3, the Cowboys get a receiver in the third round, pick 76, Jack Bech, wide receiver, TCU. He's a incredible story.
Yes. I was brought to tears on Super Bowl Sunday.
It's
with the story about his brother and his family and everything.
Incredibly emotional. So do you remember, Chop, do you remember Brett Bech? Brett Bech was the strength coordinator or one of the strength coaches for the Cowboys in the 2000s.
Nope.
Yeah, you guys weren't allowed to talk to the strength coaches back then. When
Parcells was here, you weren't allowed to talk to anybody.
If you saw him, you'd be like, oh, I saw that guy walking around the building. This is Brett's son, Jack. And so Jack Bech, or maybe it's his nephew. It's nephew or son. Can't remember. But they're related. But Jack Bech.
I remember him. Oh, yeah.
So Jack, his brother, Tiger, was the one. He was one of the people that was killed in the New Year's Eve drive attack in New Orleans with the car.
With the Princeton.
Yeah, and 2 weeks later, Jack was training here in Frisco at Exos. And just, I talked to people over that facility. They could not speak highly enough about this dude. Came in and was like, I took my time. I'm here to focus. This will help me keep my mind off things. But just a really admirable, mature kind of guy, and somebody that I would think this fits the mold of what Brian Schottenheimer's talked about with culture. All right, next pick for the Cowboys is pick number 149 in the 5th round. It's David Walker, an edge from Central Arkansas. Cowboys have typically strayed, obviously, from some of the smaller school players. They've gone against that some recently the last couple years, but typically Will McClay is one of bigger school players, even in some of the later rounds.
Yeah, they need to get the guy 4 down, Brew McCoy. That's what they need to take instead.
Brew McCoy. Oh, you mean the Texas trader, Brew McCoy? No.
Texas. USC, wasn't he?
He was at USC in Texas. He went back and forth with his commitment. All right, pick 171. Carson Vincent, offensive tackle, Alabama A&M for the Cowboys. Again, that's a smaller school player. I'd be surprised if the Cowboys went there.
They never do that, ever. And that was something that Bill really instilled in Jerry. Well, Bill wanted big school guys.
And I get it, too, because you're talking about, when you're talking about Dallas and what comes with Dallas, I understand you probably want to see the closest replication of what they'd be asked to deal with here.
And that was one of the concerns, I think that a lot of people would have. My assumption is if you were to take a quarterback from a small school, you're not used to the noise of a road stadium. If you're at a small school, if Dak Prescott, you knew that there was not an NFL stadium that was going to face him the day he came into the league. Because he played at LSU, he played at Alabama, he played at Tennessee, he played at Georgia, he played at all those schools. There's not a single NFL stadium that is 75% of the noise of those places. Not a single one.
Yeah, and I mean, as we all know, SEC football, it's like we deify it. It just means so more. Great. It just means more. It's awesome. I still am so bitter that Texas is in the SEC now.
Well,
yeah, because now you're a part of that.
Yeah.
No, I'm not part of it. I'm on the outside. I'm the family member. I'm the family member calling and saying, "Please come home from Marshall Applewhite's house." And Haley's Comet is not going to come get you. You need to come home, and that's what I'm doing. All right, next pick in the 5th round. Pick 174, the Dallas Cowboys select Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, defensive tackle, Georgia. So solidify things a little bit there. That is a bigger school player, obviously. Pick 204, how about this name, Chop? Robert Longerbeam, cornerback, Auburn or from Rutgers. That right there to me that's a round one graded name. I love it.
It is.
Longer
that's
beam.
A great name, man. That's a great name.
Longer beam.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah,
that's strong.
Oh, and if he ever got an interception, we could say light the beam, just like they do in Sacramento.
That would be great.
I'm all for this. Pick 211, Jackson Slater, guard, Sacramento State. I actually really like Jackson Slater. That is somebody that I've already studied a little bit. Slater, again, that's Sacramento State, which is a smaller school. Now, fun fact, anybody know who started their college career at Sacramento State?
Wait a second. Yes, I do. No, I'm gonna it's gonna kill me. I know exactly where he's going.
Current Cowboy?
Yep.
Yeah, I know exactly where he's going with it.
Guy waiting for a payday. Well, you're stumped.
Deron Bland.
Deron Bland, ring him up, Peyton.
It's not who I was thinking of. That's not who I was thinking.
Yeah, so you didn't know it.
Football guy of the day. That's me.
You know who I was thinking of? Scatterboo.
Oh, Scatterbomb. What a loser.
I'm a Scatterboo guy as well. Yeah. I like Dan Hurley. I like Scatterboo.
Yeah, I like Scatterboo.
Drunk ass frat boy. 239, Dallas Cowboys select another great name, Yaya Black, defensive tackle, Iowa. But that's an Iowa defensive player.
Iowa defense is fine. I'm fine with that.
That's what Iowa knows. Iowa knows corn and defensive tackles. That's what they know. All right, pick 247, Ty Felton, wide receiver from Maryland, is the final pick for the Cowboys. So I would be surprised on this front. I mean, they cover a lot of their bases here with this sort of draft, but man, I'd be surprised if they would lean as heavily into some of those smaller school players, and I'd be really surprised if Tyler Warren would be the pick for them at 12. Even if he's good, it's the same thing. You remember when you guys were doing the night show and doing nosebleeds, all leading up to that draft, told you guys, I don't care how good Kyle Pitts is. He's awesome. I don't want him. Like, it's a waste of resources given what they need and what's in the area. Same sort of thing with Brock Bowers, although I was a little more willing to take Bowers because of where you were picking. There was not going to be anybody close to as good as him. But if I was up near the top of the draft, I would probably say I'll go somewhere else. I don't necessarily want Bowers. So same sort of thing. Jake Ferguson needs to show he's better this year. He's got to have a rebound year. He's got to show he can grow from where he's been. But it's not enough for me to say, well, okay, yeah, let's throw that at too. Well, you also love John Stevens and Princeton fan and threw a second rounder recently at Luke Schoonmaker. That just doesn't sound like a good use of resources.
Yeah, and tight end's a tough position to come into the league and make a huge impact. We've seen guys now like Bowers and Laporta that have had some early success, but generally speaking, tight end is one of those that takes a couple of years. And this is a pretty deep tight end class. If you want to get a guy, you could probably get a solid dude later on in the draft, but they have way too many needs.
Also, Dak has shown that he can really, tight ends do well with him. Tight ends do very well.
Yeah, Ferguson should get better this year just with having a healthy Dak, assuming Dak's going to be healthy all year.
Witten's career extended under Dak. The latter part.
Dalton Schultz grew under Dak.
Schultz got paid, with Dak, and then obviously Ferg.
If Blake Jarwin didn't get hurt, Blake Jarwin was a guy.